Hi, I'm Dane Goodman. I'm the director of the Atkinson Gallery here at Santa Barbara City College. We're here today with Keith Puccinelli going over installation ideas for his exhibition, which will open on November 4th. Let's go in the gallery and talk to Keith. Hi, we're here in the gallery with Keith Puccinelli sitting next to me.
Get my name right, will you?
Keith Puccinelli.
Thank you.
I've known Keith for at least 20 years. And when I first found out about his work, I would see it in group shows around Santa Barbara. And a lot of it was a little sort of like folk art, outsider-ish feeling. And then he really, to me, took off with a series of drawings, these large-scale drawings that were unlike anything I've ever seen. And I believe that his work is museum level. I have watched Keith's work very closely for all this time, and I'm so happy that he's going to be showing with us. This will be his first solo show in Santa Barbara. Many people will be surprised to know that. He has shown in many shows around town, but this is the first time we're going to have a comprehensive show and brochure. So Keith, I'm real happy we're doing this.
Man, you really said it all right there. Thanks so much. I appreciate that introduction and your kind words, and you have been very supportive over the years to me and my career and my pursuit of art making, and so it's really great to be here at the Atkinson Gallery and showing my work.
I know you're really interested in current events. I know you pay attention to the news and the political scene and that. And I know that you get up in the morning and you draw almost the first thing you do. And you're listening to some of what's going on in the news. Do you think that makes an overall effect on your work?
Yeah, I think it does. I'm pretty tuned in to that. It's in my mind. I'm listening to it on the radio, and considering the events of the day, and things are not always so pretty. I don't mean to be overtly political. I want to be kind of more philosophical. Issues of the day are on my mind, and I do think they drive my production.
There's a number of reasons I'm interested in your work, but one thing certainly is this sort of interesting combination of darkness and light, of sort of gallows humor that permeates your work. There can be some very graphically tough stuff to look at, but then other work is almost to the point of being almost silly, and you seem to walk this interesting balance between all of that. Is it conscious, or is this just something that is just kind of coming out in the particular piece? Do you try to drive it one way or the other?
I think I should smoke a cigarette. What was the question?
But you don't smoke.
Yeah, I gave that up. I think a lot of it's pretty conscious. I don't want to make just goofy, funny artwork, but I want it to be humorous. I like to have more of a serious undertone, that gallows humor perhaps, something that might capture your attention at first, like, oh, look at that, isn't that funny? And then you come upon it and you look at it and you think, well, holy crap, it's really not that funny. The guy's head's falling on the ground, you know. It's not all that funny.
I don't know if you'd be willing to talk about it, but I know that you went through a serious medical condition yourself, and so you are, yes, that's why it's almost hard to see you with this in your mouth.
That's part of it right there.
And so, but it seemed to directly affect your work, because for me, that's like when a big shift in your work kind of happened. The work got bigger, it got more intense, it became, in a way, a little broodier, I think. And can you talk anything about that effect in your life, and what kind of made things change?
Yeah, I think so. Although I think I started to go down that nasty trail before I got tongue cancer in 1998. I was diagnosed with it and I was treated for it. And so there was a kind of a sort of a long road of recovery where I would have a lot of time on my hands, and so I would rest, and I would sit in my bed at my house, and I would draw. And I had a kind of a drawing tablet, and I would spend a lot of time drawing, and that became a little more of kind of a serious pursuit, and kind of a healing pursuit, I think, for me as well. I think I started dealing with some of those life and death issues and some of the imagery while I was using a clown figure in many of the drawings. It wasn't just goofy stuff. I mean, I think it was probably goofier than it is now, but I think some seriousness started coming out because, you know, I had a battle, and, you know, there's nothing like that to sort of go, well, you know, time's pretty short, you know, what's going to happen, you know? How do I live my life? How long will I live my life, or will I? And so, you know, you start thinking about things like that, and it's going to show up in what you do.
So Keith, you have these ideas, and I know you do a lot of work in your sketchbooks. So what's the impetus to do something 3D versus 2D? I mean, you might treat them the same subject matter both ways, but on a particular idea, how do you go like, oh, okay, well, this one's going to be a drawing and this one's going to be the sculpture?
I like the idea of pieces that are mixed together. Maybe there's a drawing next to a three-dimensional thing next to a photograph, and I think sometimes when there is a tableau, then there becomes a kind of a dialogue or a play, something theatrical almost happens. Also, there may be the use of light or sound or video, and that's just another way of touching the viewer. I'm not just, you know, making this work and putting it in the garage. I mean, I'm making it so that other people can see it. So I do care about their reaction to it. I care about the viewer, and I want to touch them. I want to jab them or push them or nudge them or something, you know, because that's the kind of guy I am.
Well, another thing that always interests me about your work is stylistically, you don't set boundaries for yourself. I mean, you'll do what it takes. For instance, the large drawing that's behind us, the three figures, is fairly realistic and fairly tightly rendered. But then I know that you will also do things that are almost like stick figures, and very crude and very simplistic. And some sculptures, perhaps in the background, you might be able to see this trumpet mouthpiece. It's a fairly realistic, although oversized piece. It's not crude as, say, the light bulb that's hanging on the wall here. So I think it's really healthy that you probably don't worry about that stuff. You're going to make the piece, and whatever happens, happens. You're not trying to make it so it's all like perfect Keith Puccinelli's, you know, each one has a similar style. Is that right?
Well, yes and no. I think that some of the pieces I want to be more realistic, well done, almost like you have to question, is it real or not? But then it looks very real, but wait a minute, it's 4 times as big as it's supposed to be. Now, what's up with that?
It doesn't seem to matter what you do as long as your hand is involved in it, that whatever comes out, the you that is you is apparent in all the work, no matter what the style is.
It's not what you look like when you're doing what you're doing. It's what you're doing when you're doing it, what you look like you're doing.
And do you have a name for this?
That's an old song.
Oh, yes.
You know that one.
Yeah, I do.
I think no matter what I touch, it seems to have this Puccinality to it. No matter what I do, I can't get myself out of it. I've been really successful in being an unsuccessful artist. And some of my work, you know, while it might not be very good, I spent a hell of a lot of time working on it. So I think that counts for something. And, you know, I had a piece recently in a show, and I had riddled these little wooden matches in it, and I had painted them, and they looked just like wooden matches, you know. And I had a nephew who came and said, well, what are these matches? I said, well, I made those matches. You made them? Why didn't you just buy them? And I wanted him to somehow know that that's what I spent my time doing, was making these matches when I could have gone down to the store and bought them. And because I wanted them to be handmade, because that's what I do, is I make stuff.